Welcome to Fintech Daydreaming, the podcast that dives into the world of banking technologies and the ever-changing landscape of fintech companies. We bring you real-life examples from global and local thought leaders, as well as experts working within the financial industry, and seek out the best stories from the front lines of financial services innovation, where dreams of industry pioneers meet reality. Hosted by Paul Krogdahl and Ville. This is Fintech Daydreaming.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Fintech Daydreaming. It's that time of the month again when we talk about the Nordic Fintech highlights. Whether you like it or not, you are going to go for the next 45 minutes or so about these fun topics with a great crowd as always. My name is Ville and I'm joined by Janne and Paul as usual. So how are you, Paul? I heard you ran a marathon recently.
I did. I am just back from Stockholm. I ran the Stockholm Marathon and I'm proud to say that I finished the Stockholm Marathon.
Is that a silver medal?
Well, I'm not sure if it's silver or what material it is, but it feels weighty and it feels good, and it was fantastic to receive it. And I love this pink finisher t-shirt that they gave us as well, you know. It was interesting on Sunday as we were walking around Stockholm, because obviously after you've done a long run, the best thing you can do is go walking to ease everything up. And you could tell everybody who had finished a marathon the day before, because they were walking around with these t-shirts on. So it was a feeling of solidarity, saying congratulations to everybody as we were walking around. But no, I am enjoying the pain in my legs after having run the marathon and got to the end, and already planning for the next one. So yeah.
And I understood you also did it for a bit of charity as well, so not just for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Did it for the usual. We did it for cancer research here in Finland. So very happy for having raised some money, and we'll include a link into the description of this episode so that people can donate a little bit more. Take advantage of my pain to help other people's relief of suffering as they go through cancer.
All right, we will definitely do that, and I hope our listeners are also helping with that important cause, as we of course want to say here. But Janne, have you run any marathons lately, or how are you doing?
Not marathons, but I think in the previous episode I mentioned that I'm aiming for the Medoc Marathon next year. So I actually came back from Italy today, and I had a training camp with plenty of cured meat and red wine. So I started to exercise on that side, and then I include the running a bit later to the program.
Sounds fantastic. And I also did a bit of exercise on Saturday. Today is Monday when we are recording, and we did call it exercise on Saturday. I was had a very nice day event in the center of Helsinki. Danced a bit, met a lot of friends. So again, a bit tiring, but I can say also a lot of fun, and gives me a lot of food for thought as well for today's conversation here on the podcast. I had a chance to go to Paris. Actually, I was speaking at the EBA Day as well last week, and that was an interesting experience. EBA Day is, of course, the European Banking Association's yearly event where all the members are gathering, and they also have vendors there. But it's mostly, I would say, banks and bankers in that event. It's like a mini Sibos, I would describe it maybe, and it was a fantastic venue for one. So it was literally like underneath the famous glass pyramid at the Louvre. So again, being in a very fancy place, and a big audience for the panel discussion we had about CBDCs and stablecoins, and a lot of course, colleagues and friends. And we also heard from a lot of listeners of our podcast here as well. So greetings to everybody who I met and shook hands with in Paris last week, and it was very nice to see you all, and I hope you keep on listening. Good, but let's get on with the Nordic Fintech highlights special that we have for today. We have barely recovered from Nordic Fintech Summit as well from the last episode. Also got some really nice feedback for the episode that we did. But we also need to now talk about the actual news instead of just partying here in Helsinki. So, Janne, let's get started as usual with the overview of last month. So, how was the overall funding and investing picture around the Nordic Fintechs in last month?
Well, actually, the funding and investing picture was quite miserable, actually. But what was clearly dominating the news was that the traditional banks were quite much in the news for multiple reasons. Well, there were of course Q1 results coming out, but then also a lot of tech stuff. I think even though there's a lot of new BaaS and core providers, seems that the traditional tech providers are still doing pretty good job in signing deals with core banking. So I think Tietoevry has been doing new deals in Norway almost on a monthly basis now this year. But besides the core, we can see the traditional banks getting also additional stuff from a bit more smaller fintech companies. So there were some new partnerships around wealth tech, around open banking, and then around compliance. And I think in general, compliance and security were dominating the news this month or previous month. So a lot of new initiatives regarding better compliance and security technology, but then there were also a few news about the regulators in different countries sanctioning the banks for poor job in the past. So yeah, I think security compliance definitely dominating this month.
Yeah. So when you're saying it's miserable in terms of investing and new funding, is that a regular trend towards summer, or is this now a different year from last year, for example?
Well, yeah, it's. I think we have kind of get used to it that it's not that, or it's rarely very good. But I think we have seen some better months and highlights once in a while. And I think couple of months ago, or was it previous month, we were talking about fraud and so on and some bigger rounds. But yeah, now this month's just a few funding rounds. So not very much to cheer about.
Yeah, and also not surprised about the supervisors enforcing the fines on some of the things that have happened in the past right now, because again, everybody wants to get their table empty before they head for summer vacation, including the regulators.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. All right, Paul, what's your view of what we just heard from Janne?
I think it's to a certain degree a common trend. Things do slow down for summer vacations here in the Nordics. Everybody's getting ready to go off to their summer cottages, which is very traditional in Finland at least. So I can understand that it's a slowdown generally. Like you said, there's been an awful lot of news recently here in Finland about some of the traditional banks getting hit by some pretty large fines for activities that have happened in the past. It's quite interesting to see the timeline between event and then the penalty from the regulators on it, or the Financial Services Conduct Authority, in regards to those issues. But look after your IT systems and look after your compliance, and hopefully you don't get fined in the future going forwards.
Yeah.
So it's in interesting times as always. I think we always find different things to point at, and there is spirals of different activities that we always bring to the surface.
Indeed. And this actually is officially the first week of June that we're recording, and this episode is also coming out this week. So we're definitely seeing the summer atmosphere rising in everywhere, including work and the fintech space quite clearly. And this being the last Nordic Fintech highlights episodes of this season, we definitely need to talk about the summer all the time, whenever we can. Speaking of summer and humor related to summer, so Janne, do you have a joke for the audience today?
Yes, I do, especially for Paul, who just finished the marathon. So, what do sprinters eat before they race?
I know what I eat before I race, but I don't know.
It might not be pasta, but tell me.
They fast.
Okay, that was much worse than last time, Janne. But still, I mean, back to being consistent about the quality of jokes. So I kind of respect that.
although I need to interject here for a minute. How on earth was that related to banking or fintech? I mean, we generally tend to say we want a banking or fintech related joke, but I appreciate that you aligned onto my my marathon for the weekend, but I don't think it was topical. Yeah,
I think we run out of at least temporarily for around the fintech and banking jokes, so I had to kind of come outside of the box, but hopefully next month I come up with something again.
Yeah. So the barrel is empty, so we have to make sure after the summer we have something to joke about. But
we need someone in the industry to have a catastrophe so that some jokes come out of the back of it, right?
Oh yeah. Or maybe a new AI model or something. That helps us out here. Yep. But I mean, technically, I mean, it was related to the marathon, right? So, or running and fast, you can kind of make the bridge to or segue to faster payments or something. But again, I agree, it was maybe not fintech related directly, at least.
I have to actually say that even though we get these new AI models, so I'm still not convinced about their ability to give you good jokes. So.
Yeah, but we don't do good jokes here now, do we? So maybe AI is perfect. Let's get on with it then. So the meat of the episode around the bones of these poor jokes is the news that we're going to be talking about from last month's newsletter. So let's start with you, Paul. So which news story did you pick this time?
Yes, continuing the discussions we just had around fraud and fines and regulations and everything else. An interesting piece of news that came out from Enfuce, a fantastically rapidly growing fintech here in Finland, which is going global and going fantastically well. They have really put a lot of focus in on the growth of financial crime with inside of payments and cards, and they've created a pledge called the Fortitude Pledge that they are standing behind. And they're being very bullish here. I think this is fantastic, and I really hope that Monica and team can deliver on this, because they're saying that their focus is to stop 100% of financial crime with inside of their services and capability. And they're asking for other banks and providers to join this pledge to eradicate, fraudulent activity. And it's very much focused around things like anti-money laundering, terrorist activities, and those sort of things. They actually have a couple of points that really caught me in their announcement. They're saying that human trafficking alone has become a £400 billion industry, which to me is shocking. It's scary. They're saying that $2 trillion is laundered annually through legitimate financial systems. So, I mean, we're not talking anymore about cash transactions. We're actually talking about illicit transactions happening through the card network and card schemes. And they're also saying that card identity theft losses have increased by 200% since 2021. So the fact that Enfuce is saying that they are going to stand behind this 100% when it comes to the use of their infrastructure and their capabilities. I mean, they're not saying this for the whole industry, although they'd like that in. They're saying 100% of their employees are going to be trained on AML and counter-terrorist financing capabilities. They're saying 100% of high-risk transactions will be flagged through their system. 100% of suspicious transactions will be reported. And 100% of all transactions that go through their infrastructure will be screened. And I think this to me is fantastic, right? When you think about particularly the older generation that maybe aren't that aware of what's going on, I think this is great. I stand 100% behind this, and I hope that Enfuce can take this and spearhead going forwards with it.
Yeah, 100% sounds a lot. I mean, it's all right.
Yes. Yeah. They're saying basically every transaction that goes through their solution.
Yeah. that is a very ambitious goal, but I think this is more about setting the standards. So you're basically just saying that we will make sure on our behalf that we are taking care of everything that we can. And even if we miss them, then it's a goal that we will reach at a certain point in time. The kind of intuitive thinking that I get from this is that we see a lot of regulated financial institutions, banks, and processors like Enfuce now putting a lot of effort into anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing, fraud prevention, and of course sanction screening. And my feeling is that these activities, they create, like was also mentioned here, these suspicious activity reports, also known as SARS, which will be filed to the proper authorities in the countries where this happened. And my concern is that these reports, there's no capacity on the enforcement side to actually take care of all of that. And I'm sure they already do out of prioritization there. But let's say, for argument's sake, that the industry in general generates suspicious activity reports in the tens of thousands per month, let's say, if 100% is caught, for instance. And then how many people do they have on the enforcement side to make sure that the criminals also get what they deserve when it comes to these suspicious activities, or they have the capacity to at least investigate whether a crime has been committed or not. So let's see if next season we're able to get somebody from the supervisor side to talk about these financial crime prevention things. That would be an interesting episode, because we hear a lot from fintechs and banks working in this area, but rarely do we hear from the people who are actually enforcing these things to be effective against the crimes committed.
Let's be honest as well. The whole space is getting more and more complicated and disturbing with the growth of using AI capabilities to simplify, from a criminal perspective, the ability to commit these fraudulent activities as well. So it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah. And especially when it comes to cards, when EMV transactions, so basically we moved from magstripe to chip and pin originally, and then later on tokenization and contactless, the element of not being just able to swipe your card and sign a receipt and then leave prevented or actually took down card fraud significantly in the areas where this was taken into effect. Now we're seeing, of course, through online fraud and otherwise, we're seeing regrowth of card-based fraud, even with the new measures in terms of strong customer authentication and authorization that are being put in place. So again, coming back to this Enfuce's statement here, it's important to see that all the actors in the regulated financial space are doing their part, or at the level best at least, to make sure that these are mitigated properly. So Janne, have you had experience with any card fraud lately?
Not actually, but yeah, it's a lot in the news, of course, the fraud, and what comes to my mind about this Enfuce news. This is, of course, very ambitious thing, and I think what everyone sees as the solution is that there would be more data to share, and there has been initiatives that the banks could share together. Well, more transaction data to have more something to train the algorithms on, but then also to immediately communicate on the fraudulent entities. But then again, the Finnish regulation, I think, with the bank secrecy law has been a bit as a blocker there. But as Enfuce is about to grow to become a really big card platform with perhaps even hundreds of millions of users, so then they would have, of course, a lot of transaction data by themselves, more than the banks could have by themselves. So this, of course, gives them an edge to build more sophisticated solutions that the banks could ever build with just their own data. So yeah, this is very interesting how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing Enfuce growing into be one of the largest fintechs in the region for sure. And for our listeners who might not be aware, we've had Monica, one of the co-founders and CEOs of Enfuce, as a guest earlier it was last season, I think. And I really encourage you to listen to that episode. Monica is definitely a character that you will never forget if you meet her even once. So again, call back to a previous episode there. Good. Okay, let's move on. And next, Janne, you picked another story from the newsletter. Which one did you pick?
Yes, so we had some news about S-Bank in Finland. They have started a new partnership with Third Eyes Analytics, which is a wealth tech company from Switzerland. So basically, they are reinforcing their wealth offering with the Third Eye solution. So the solution would give the S-Bank clients some wealth tools to bring them a holistic advisory approach, so they could have a good look on all the aspects of their financial life. So they could take more care about their financial well-being, and then also provide customers with some personalized wealth planning and investment advice. So bringing kind of this goal-based saving and investing to the S-Bank customers. And this is of course something we've been talking about earlier also on this podcast. Where the market is heading. There's been of course a lot of buzz around robo-advisory for a decade already. And then it's of course a different thing where the banks are actually going now. But what I find here very interesting is that S-Bank is owned by S Group, which is probably the biggest retailer in Finland. So they could actually combine the data of consumers' spending behavior and then link that to also the saving and investing kind of dashboard. So technically they could bring a really like a 360 tool for consumers to manage their financial life from spending to saving. But then that's of course quite a big move. So let's see what's the first step here. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I think well, first of all, for people listening from outside Finland, S-Bank, again, being part of the S Group, which is again the largest retailer in Finland, brings it with itself one interesting feature. In Finland, I would say almost, if not everybody, almost everybody above 18 has this green loyalty card or S card from the S Group. And they have a loyalty system where you get bonuses paid back from the purchases you make in S Group stores. And those bonuses get paid automatically into S-Bank bank account. So if you're getting bonuses from the S Group, you are already automatically a customer of S-Bank. So again, it's kind of a growth hack, I would say, for the bank, because the bank was again established as an independent bank entity much later than the loyalty system existed, but they bootstrapped the customer base quite nicely with this loyalty base. So for example, even I get some euros back from the purchases I make in S Group every month. And they pay directly into my S-Bank account, and I have set it up so that it automatically invests it into index funds, those few euros. So it's a kind of a fun thing to do on the side. Now, of course, S-Bank doesn't want just those customers, so they want customers who have a broader portfolio of services, including house loans, mortgages, and other things, to use the S-Bank as their primary bank. The combination of this kind of a bonus customer base and then their growing base of more broader customers would actually benefit from this new robo investing and analytics platform that is now coming in from Switzerland. That being said, I do have my doubts about robo-advisors. I'm yet to see any of the robo-advisor setups beat the index. They do get some spikes, but overall, over a period of time, they always fail to be better than the overall indexes around the world, especially the US ones. But remains to be seen. I think when there's more volatility in the market, there's a chance that the kind of more active, in this case, robo-advised funds would actually be a little bit better. We'll see. Again, so far, not so good. So Paul, I guess you also have an S-Bank account with the bonuses. So what do you think of this robo-advisor capability now?
Yeah, I do have, like you said, everybody who lives in Finland has an S card, and by default, their friends are being a customer with S-Bank. So yes, I do have. I don't do anything very actively with S-Bank except for collecting my bonuses, like you said. But I think there's a number of different things here to unpack. One of the things is wealth management is seeing a regeneration, almost you could say. A lot of the wealth management capabilities from the banks here in Finland and Nordics, and also some of the specific wealth management financial organizations are trying to see how they can take advantage of technology to get a larger captive audience, because it used to be traditionally that wealth management was only for the high net worth and very rich people, and there's now a move to try and bring some of those capabilities to the more normal individuals like us. So I think this is a smart move. It's interesting to see how it develops, but just like you said, Ville, I don't think the technology is quite there yet to be able to drive the outcome-based solutions that the consumers are really looking for, particularly the ones that maybe aren't that financially literate or really understand how to take advantage of their finances. I mean, like you just said, Ville, you've got it set up so that with inside of your S-Bank, the bonuses you earn are being invested into a fund for you automatically, etc. I'm wondering how many people in Finland, A, know that capability is available, or B, have the financial literacy capabilities to have that all set up and know that they should do that. So I think there's an awful lot here still to do. It would be interesting to see how far S-Bank can take this partnership. So all very good, very interesting, but I think still a lot more to be seen.
Absolutely. And one thing that might make this interesting, it's not explicitly stated in the press release as such, if they might do this, but it's really the amount of data that S Group and S Bank combined have on all the individual customers. Like we already established, they have a very long history from the loyalty cards in their data storage. So again, not only the purchase history like the banks have, but even the so-called level 3, i.e. the receipt row level data on what you bought and when, and they have that for, I don't know for how long, but I would guess decades worth of data for all of their customers. Now, does your buying behavior correlate with your investment preferences is a good question, but I think the vast amount of data that they have with about their customers, even beyond their banking capabilities, should be a really interesting pool of opportunity for any type of analytics and AI platform. But yeah, again, it's interesting to see how they organize and govern the data assets that they have, because again, having decades worth of data also is an opportunity, but it's definitely a challenge on how you actually make that usable to these algorithms. But best of luck to this. As an S-Bank customer, I'm looking forward to seeing these capabilities materialize in my things that I can do with my S-Bank bonus setup. all the kind of 1 or 2 euros I get there for per month or something. But anyway, it's small streams, and then maybe something in the future. We'll see. So wrapping up that story, let's move on to the last one for this week's episode, which is my news story, which I picked, and almost predictably, I picked the story about the Nordics and Estonia developing offline card payment systems in the current environment. The offline payment topic has been very much in the headlines lately due to the situation that we have from geopolitical perspective, especially when it comes to preparedness in situations where there's a crisis going on. And now the central banks have come out with a very strong message that they expect and want the private sector companies, i.e. banks and issuers, to support offline capabilities at the point of sale in case of different kinds of disruptions that might happen with the current payment infrastructure. There are a few things happening in the Nordics in this space. So, for instance, in Finland, there is this Emergency Preparedness Act that is being enacted on the banking sector at the moment, which ensures that there is a bank account capability available even if the commercial banks go down. So there is a replication of infrastructure. This is happening as we speak. So the outcomes are yet to be seen. But the expected outcome is that even if the commercial banks are not able to serve their customers for one reason or another, there is a backup infrastructure that which can be activated and then your deposits would be usable and safe even in these exceptional circumstances. The other thing that we have talked about in the podcast as well several times before is, of course, the central bank digital currency space, specifically the digital euro, which is developed by the European Central Bank. And in many cases, it has been mentioned that the digital euro will have an offline capability, and it's been tagged as one of the important deliverables from the digital euro. That definitely is a part of this story. But the important thing here is that the Bank of Finland, a representative from the Bank of Finland, has now come out and said that, yes, we support the digital euro, and the digital euro will deliver offline capabilities by the current plan at least. But that is way too far away. So if we remember what the ECB is saying about the digital euro rollout schedule, that is going to be anything between beginning of 29 and 2030 at the moment. And the Bank of Finland is saying that that's not good enough. We need something sooner. We need something to secure our capabilities now, or if at least faster than that timeline. And that means that the Bank of Finland and also Sweden and Denmark have been working on this offline kind of securing the offline capabilities of existing payment mechanisms. And while it's a little bit thin on details on how they exactly are going to do this, the indication is that you should be able to use your existing cards, for instance, at the point of sale, even in certain situations where the point of sale does not have an internet connection available, i.e. it's going to store the payment credentials on the device, and as soon as the connectivity comes back online, then it will kind of execute the payments in that way. In a sense, it's actually not new. If you remember when chip and PIN launched some time ago, the terminals that were not able to establish an internet connection actually did offline transactions already, but that was later removed due to the fact that connectivity became so much better. So again, interesting to see. It's going to be forcing or asking the private sector to re-enable the offline capabilities and then in the longer term support this disaster readiness through the digital euro and then of course the other preparedness acts that they are enforcing right now. So that's a long explanation of the story, but it's quite close to my daily work. So that's why I picked this story, and I thought that it might be interesting to talk, especially when we read the things that are happening around the world as we speak. But Janne, what do you think about the hastiness of moving to offline now in the current world?
I mean, of course, it makes a lot of sense, and we have had already many things regarding resilience going on especially on the cloud side. So yeah, absolutely makes sense to have the payments working as well. I was just wondering, like, has there been many successful attacks on the payment networks? So, because we of course had quite a many DDoS attacks in the Nordics last year on the banks and people couldn't sign in, but how has it been affecting the payment networks, and has there been successful attacks on that side? Maybe, do you know, Ville?
Well, Paul, do you know?
Nope. No, I actually agree with Janne. I would have the same question.
Yeah, because again, and that's a very valid question, because there's two types of things to consider here. Well, first of all, we can take what happened in Spain and Portugal. They had a very widespread power outage for a extended period of time in Spain and Portugal, and that meant that most of the country's big cities were completely out of electricity. So unless you had your own generator up and running, which most people and stores definitely do not, then you were not able to accept payments. Now, even in this situation, the banks were very quick to report that due to of course the backup capabilities and the generator capabilities that they have in the data center, the payment networks were running 100% of the time. So they never went out of commission even in this circumstance. The problem was that the merchants didn't have electricity, so i.e. the payment terminal just won't turn on. So again, this kind of emergency preparedness has been framed such that the offline payment would somehow solve all of these problems. But at the same time, if you look at the kind of practical realities around this, it's much more basic things that you need to solve first. So for example, do we now require some sort of battery capabilities from the physical hardware payment terminals? Or are we going to give stationary bikes to other merchants so they can pedal and keep the electricity going? That would be actually maybe a healthy option on how to do that. But again, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Second point, which is also related to the kind of geopolitics of it all, is that if you read the statement from the Bank of Finland representative when they talked about this offline payment capability, it also related to the fact that in the current political environment, it's fair to question why don't we have a pan-European network solution at the moment, because we are practically completely reliant on Visa and MasterCard, who are not European companies, i.e. they might be subject to influence from political parties in cases where there is some tension, for example, between Europe and its outside partners. So that also means that this kind of offline conversation broadly relates to being prepared for those political dilemmas maybe in the future as well, i.e. not being reliant on non-European actors in the critical infrastructure that of course payments is. But Paul, what do you think? I mean, again, if we would somehow get like a third pan-European card scheme or some kind of a payment scheme which supports offline capabilities, would you want to have that on your cards or would you rather prefer to continue using what you have?
Lots of different points here again. I mean, first of all, when we had Brett King lately on the podcast, we covered this to a certain degree. We said if the point really comes where everything falls apart, is really the payments part the biggest thing we're going to worry about? Or is there going to be other things that are more important to us? So yes, I agree, it's good to have offline payment capabilities for cards. There are also other ways. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion recently about maybe it is a good idea to have a little bit of cash hidden underneath your bed. Maybe not a lot, but a little bit just in case. And also to your point, Ville, I was just thinking, over the weekend, I was in Stockholm. We did go out and celebrate that I had run the marathon. And a lot of the POS systems are battery operated, right? You go to a restaurant, they bring it to the table. It's a little machine with a battery in it. So as long as you've got the ability to keep that battery up and going, it gives you a little bit of time, depending upon how long the power outage is. But that's just the power side. Then you've got the network side and everything else. So there's multiple elements that could go wrong in all of this. So I think it's a good idea. I agree with you that it should be in place as fast as possible. But I'm also thinking, I mean, if we go right back to the beginning of cards were offline. I can remember still you had a swipe machine, right? The card was put in, a piece of paper was put on the top, and you went, and that was your offline payments, right? It wasn't digital, it wasn't instant, it was offline. So how about if we just get everybody to pull those little swipe machines back out from their underneath their drawers, and we've got the offline capabilities there already.
Indeed. I always remember, when they used those machines, and that's the reason, by the way, why still many of the cards that we have this kind of embossed letters, so that actually if you do this kind of swiping on the machine, then it creates a copy on the receipt, and then you sign that receipt, and that's the reason why we have this. But I always remember when I think I got my first Visa Electron card, which was kind of the prepaid or /debit card solution back then, a long time ago. which it was completely flat. So again, there's no embossing. So I actually went to a place where they put it there and then they swiped it and then nothing came on the receipt. They're like, what is this card? Some kind of a fake card? And now, if you look at any of the neobank cards, including Revolut cards, they have no embossing. So again, maybe that ship has already sailed. But but again, we'll see how the offline things evolve, and we always have to remember we already have pretty much the perfect offline solution. It's called physical cash, and that's another element of the central bank messaging as well, is saying that no, we cannot get rid of cash because it's a solution that already works. Interestingly enough, by the way, we also heard it from the central banks that I think somebody asked about cash. And then I don't remember which central bank representative it was, but then he said that, well, if physical cash would be invented today, we would probably ban it because again, it's not compliant with the regulation that we have defined for digital transactions, for example. So physical cash would not be launched today if that wouldn't already exist. So they say the same thing about things like coffee as well, by the way. So if coffee would be introduced into the market today, it would be made illegal because it's the caffeine in it is not good for your health or things like this. But yeah, I think this is an interesting evolution, of course, as always, and we'll see where we land in the land of offline payments. Just looking forward to seeing if there's going to be some fun technology that we can try out as payment nerds. Good, but okay, I think that covers it. We covered a nice set of stories here, the 3 stories we covered. Paul, any final words before we close this week's episode?
No, nothing more to add except for the fact that I'm gonna go and drink a bucket of water because I'm still horribly dehydrated from having run the marathon and then sillily celebrating with a bottle of Prosecco afterwards. So I need to hydrate.
Yeah, I've heard about the dehydrating attributes of Prosecco, so I get you there for sure. Janne, any final words before we close?
As always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
You took the words right out of my mouth. And as Paul also educated me last time, we must not forget to also thank Femi, our producer and editor for Fintech Daydreaming, again, even for this episode. So we don't leave also people behind the scenes without credits. But okay, this has been the Nordic Fintech Highlights episode hosted by Paul, Ville, and Janne. And as Janne mentioned, please like, subscribe, tell your friends, and make comments in the platforms where we are available. And those comments really help in terms of visibility in order for new people to find us and our podcast. With that being said, thank you again for listening. This has been Fintech Daydreaming.
This is Fintech Daydreaming.